Have you ever seen someone treated so unfairly in public that your heart just broke, but then one person's kindness turned the entire moment around? That's exactly what happened inside a small cafe in New York, where a young woman carrying invisible pain was humiliated by everyone around her, until a single dad with a little daughter changed her story. What happened next will restore your faith in humanity. Stay with us till the end, because this story will touch your soul. And before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Stories for more inspiring tales. The cafe was buzzing with morning energy. Laptops clicked, coffee steamed, and the smell of fresh bread filled the air. It was the kind of place where people went not just for food but for a sense of belonging. But for one young woman named Emily, it was about to become a place of rejection she would never forget. Emily walked in timidly, her worn coat wrapped tightly around her frame, her hair pulled back with the kind of care that showed she had tried to look presentable but couldn't afford much. She clutched her bag close, her eyes searching for a seat. She wasn't here to spend much, just a single cup of coffee and maybe a small pastry she had saved up for. But to her, even that small order felt like a luxury. She scanned the room. Every table seemed filled with people working or chatting. Some tables had just one person sitting with empty chairs around them. She approached the first one, a young couple with fancy clothes. "Excuse me," she whispered, "is anyone sitting here?" The woman gave her a sharp glance and pulled her handbag onto the chair beside her. "Sorry, it's taken." Emily nodded quickly, forcing a polite smile, and walked on. She tried the next table, where two businessmen were hunched over laptops. "Would you mind if I sit here?" she asked softly. One of them didn't even look up. The other shook his head. "We're expecting someone." Table after table, the answer was the same. Some people ignored her altogether. Some gave her looks that silently screamed, "You don't belong here." With every rejection, Emily's face grew redder, her heart heavier. She finally stood in the middle of the cafe, clutching her coffee cup, nowhere to sit, her legs trembling. She considered leaving, but she had already spent her precious few dollars on that cup. If she walked out, it would feel like throwing away not just money, but dignity. That's when a soft, innocent voice broke the silence. "Daddy, why is that lady standing all alone?" Every head turned. At a corner table sat a man in his 30s, his sleeves rolled up, rough hands showing he worked hard for a living. Beside him was a little girl with bright, curious eyes and golden curls. The man looked up from his muffin, following his daughter's gaze, and saw Emily. Her coffee shaking in her hand, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. Without hesitation, he pushed out the chair across from him. His voice was calm, steady, and kind. "Miss, would you like to sit with us?" Emily froze. No one had spoken to her with such warmth in a long time. For a second, she thought he might be mocking her like the others, but the sincerity in his eyes told her otherwise. "Are you sure?" she whispered. The little girl nodded eagerly. "Yes. Please sit. Daddy says no one should ever eat alone." Emily bit her lip as her eyes stung. She walked slowly toward them, sat down, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she felt seen. The man extended his hand. "I'm Daniel. And this little troublemaker is my daughter, Lily." Emily managed a shaky smile. "I'm Emily. Thank you, for this." Around them, the cafe buzzed on, but for Emily, the rejection she had endured just minutes earlier was softened by one simple act of kindness, a stranger who made space for her. And though Daniel didn't know it yet, his decision to invite her to his table would change both of their lives forever. Emily sat nervously at the table, her hands wrapped around the coffee cup for comfort. Daniel noticed how her fingers trembled, how she avoided eye contact, how her shoulders curled inward as if trying to make herself invisible. Lily, on the other hand, had no hesitation. She leaned forward with a big smile. "Do you like muffins?" Daddy got blueberry. It's my favorite. You can have some if you want, she chirped. Emily's eyes widened. Oh, no, sweetheart, that's yours. I couldn't. But Daniel gently slid the plate toward her. Please. She won't finish it anyway. And honestly, I think it'll taste better shared. Emily hesitated, then took a small bite. The sweetness hit her tongue, and suddenly, memories of better days flooded back, days when life wasn't about survival, when her mother used to bake on weekends, when laughter had filled her home. She swallowed hard, fighting tears. Daniel noticed. He didn't pry, but his eyes were filled with quiet compassion. Rough day? He asked gently. Emily let out a shaky breath. Rough life, more like. She hadn't meant to say it out loud, but something about Daniel's calm presence made her feel safe. Words began spilling out, the job she lost 6 months ago, the apartment she couldn't afford anymore, the nights she slept on a friend's couch, and the way people looked at her like she was less than human. Daniel listened quietly, never interrupting. Lily reached across the table and patted Emily's hand with her small one. Don't be sad, she said with innocent sincerity. Daddy says people who are kind will always find new friends. Emily let out a choked laugh, wiping her tears. Your daughter is very wise. Daniel smiled softly. She teaches me more than I teach her. For the first time in months, Emily felt like she wasn't invisible. Someone saw her, not as a burden, not as an outcast, but as a human being worthy of kindness. What Emily didn't know was that Daniel himself understood struggle. He was a single dad, working 2 jobs to raise Lily after his wife passed away. He knew what it felt like to be judged, to be overlooked, to feel the weight of responsibility pressing down every day. Maybe that's why he noticed Emily's pain when others ignored it, because he had been there himself. As they sat together, sharing stories and laughter, the cafe no longer felt hostile to Emily. Instead, it became a place of connection, of healing. When Emily finally stood to leave, she looked at Daniel with teary gratitude. Thank you, for inviting me. You'll never know how much it meant. Daniel shook his head. Sometimes the smallest acts mean the most. I'm just glad you sat down. Lily waved cheerfully. Come back tomorrow. We can share another muffin. Emily smiled. Genuine, warm, the kind of smile she thought she had lost forever. For the first time in months, she walked out of a place not feeling smaller, but stronger. And Daniel? He watched her leave, holding his daughter's hand, knowing deep down that a single act of kindness can change a life, not just for the person receiving it, but for the one giving it too. So the next time you see someone standing alone, rejected, or invisible, maybe you'll remember Emily, Daniel, and Lily. And maybe, just maybe, you'll invite someone to your table too. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Kindness Stories for more powerful tales of compassion. Because one small act of kindness can truly change the world.